What's going on, guys? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, we're going to be discussing how to recomposition your body, aka build your dream physique, aka lose fat, build muscle, so that you can watch this video and actually go do it, because half of you guys have analysis paralysis. And I don't want you to analyze this. I want you to just watch it and then do it. As you guys know, before we get into the video, I want to remind you guys to do hard shit, be confident, have the courage to be uncomfortable. Most importantly, don't give a shit what anybody says about you. Without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get into the video that I have prepared for you guys today. The two things that you need to be able to recomposition your body, we'll put BR for body recomp in parentheses, D, P. Again, I struggle. I always want to put DF. God. And someone put a really funny comment that actually made me laugh on the last video, so go watch that. Okay. Also, if you want to work with me one-to-one to build your dream physique, I will leave the application to that in the description of this video, but I want you guys to watch this and do it yourself, so I'm going to tell you right now. So the first thing that you're going to need is obviously science, okay? And I'm going to kind of break that down for you here in a second. And the second thing that you're going to need is mindset, mentality, motivation, all that bullshit. We're going to write that down as an M, okay? Those are the two things that you need to build your dream physique. You can't have one without the other. A lot of the times we jump ahead and go right into the science part of things, and we never look at our mindset, our motivation, our mentality. If we can't stick to something for longer than 2 weeks because we are not disciplined, the science doesn't fucking matter, all right? So, number one, we're going to look at science. Okay, so that's going to entail a few things. Again, to make this easy for you to start, I'm going to make it very simple, and then as you progress in the journey, you can make it more complicated, you can learn more, you can learn how your body digests things, you can learn what training styles work best for you, but that's something that you learn only when you begin. So before we worry about all that stuff and all those details that you're probably going to get into analysis paralysis over, we're going to work on starting, because none of it matters if you don't begin the fucking journey, okay? So number one, the first thing you're going to look at, if you're doing a body recomposition journey where you're skinny, fat, overweight, obese, whatever, you have to be in a calorie deficit, okay? A lot of people know that already, right? A lot of people know that they have to be in a calorie deficit. But what they don't know is that in order to get the composition that you're looking for of your dream physique, which is more muscle and less body fat, you're going to have to manipulate the macronutrients that are in that calorie deficit in order to get your desired composition. So in order to manipulate your body's composition, you have to manipulate the composition of the deficit. Okay, so that's going to look like making sure you're prioritizing protein. Protein is necessary in order to build the muscle so that you have that lean, toned mass. Okay, so because we're going to prioritize protein, that is going to then lead for us to build muscle. And you're going to be like, well, why does it matter why would I want to build muscle and eat protein when my goal is to lose weight and get smaller? That's not what we're thinking of here, okay? We don't want to eat less in order to get our dream physique. We want to eat the right amount of the right macronutrients in order to build the composition that we're looking for, because when we just correlate restriction with results, we end up a skinny fat version of what we already are, and that's not what you want. I know you want to look lean, I know you want to look toned, and I know you want to lose fat mass. In order to do that, it takes a little bit more strategy than just eating less. Your protein goal looks different for everybody, but what I will tell you with protein, it's the most satiating macronutrient, so it cannot hurt you to eat more of it. We use protein to build muscle. Why do you want to build muscle? Again, because we're trying to build the physique, not restrict ourselves into this skinny fat self. Looking at your calorie deficit, we're going to have carbs, and we're also going to have fats. Now, you can play around with the ratios of these two to each other. Now, carbs are going to be utilized for energy. And why is that important? We're going to need energy in order for us to be able to build that muscle. Because building muscle is not easy. A lot of you guys are like, oh, I don't want to look too muscular, I don't want to get too buff. I promise you, you will not do that. Like, it's not easy, it doesn't happen by accident. You don't pick up a dumbbell and become the Hulk. That does not happen. You cannot accidentally stumble into the gym and become jacked. That does not happen, I promise. But in order to build muscle, it takes effort and intention when training. In order to have that effort and that intention and that focus and that level to be able to push in order to get the lean toned physique, you have to use carbs in order to give yourself the energy. If you're consistently crashing during your workout and you're starving and all that stuff, how are you going to be able to push to failure? How are you going to be able to maintain the intensity that's necessary in order to pack on muscle mass? Fats, again, sometimes when we prioritize protein, carbs, and low-calorie things, we tend to neglect fats. Fats are going to be important for regulating your hormones, so you want to make sure that you're having enough of the healthy fats. Also making sure that you know, fats can also provide energy for you, a little bit of a longer lasting energy source, but they are also known for digesting a little bit slower. And then when you have a lot of them in one meal, they can tend to make you a bit more lethargic. It's important to know these things because when using carbs and fats, you're going to want to implement them at different times depending on what you're doing in the day. Not only do the proportions of the macronutrients in relation to each other matter, but also knowing what they're going to do to you or what they tend to do to people, and then being able to see how that makes you feel and if it makes your performance better or worse. The number two there, which is, we'll draw a line here so that you know what I'm talking about. The number two there is going to be weight training. Now, there's this like whole thing about people being like, that's training. There's this whole thing about people being like, okay, this is the most optimal way to train. This is the most optimal way to train. This is that. The most optimal form of training, again, is going to be the shit that you're going to fucking do. Usually when people are discussing what is most optimal, it's through the lens of context that they're not necessarily stating. Because when you're considering building a plan for literally anyone, and this is what I do with my clients, is understanding them not just physiologically, so their body, also understanding who they are psychologically as well as the lifestyle that they live. If Susie has 7 kids and works a fucking like 40 hours a week, am I going to tell her to go to the gym for 7 days a week because that's most optimal, even though that's not most optimal, but it's just an example? No, I'm not. I'm going to build a plan that's most optimal for her, and what dictates whether something is optimal or not is the probability of them being able to stick to it, okay? So, when we look at weight training, we want to make sure that when we are in the gym, we are progressively overloading. What does that look like? Making sure that we are getting stronger every single week. That can look like getting more reps, increasing the weight, or having an easier time performing the movement than you did the prior week. We also want to make sure that the intensity is there, okay? You go to the gym and you half-ass shit and you go through the motions and you're not pushing yourself and it's not difficult, you're not going to grow. It's like trying to sharpen a sword with a piece of bread. Like, what's happening? Nothing. You're just sitting there rubbing a piece of bread on a blade and you're wasting your fucking time, okay? Make sure you're pushing yourself. Be intentional with everything that you do. Bring intensity to the gym when you show up. In order to make sure that you're always bringing as much intensity as possible, you're going to want to make sure that this whole nutrition thing that we just discussed is on point. Okay, so progressive overload and making sure that you're training intensely. The way that you train and the style of training that you choose, a power building training, a bodybuilding style training, full body, different kinds of splits, whatever the hell you do, structure it in a way that, number one, you're going to stick to it. And of course, don't pick something that's completely inefficient. If you're wondering what I do when I go to the gym, I start with a few compound movements after I warm up, and then I get into accessory movements where I do isolation and target some smaller muscle groups. What that training looks like in terms of rest times, reps, sets, all that kind of stuff. When I do my compound movements, I give myself a little bit more rest so that my central nervous system can recover. Again, if we're chasing a pump, we're not necessarily chasing hypertrophy and muscle growth. Okay, we're not there just to get a pump, we're there to grow in the long run. So I give myself about 2 minutes of rest when I'm doing the and you can definitely do more. 2 minutes is a little bit low, but I also don't have forever to be in the gym. When I do my compound movements, that's what I do. When I get into the accessory movements, I also tend to go into a bit of a higher rep range. I've noticed for myself personally that when I am training any smaller muscle groups or trying to do any isolation movement, going with a bit of a lighter weight or higher rep range has improved my mind to muscle connection with that smaller muscle group or that isolation movement. And again, that's what it looks like for me. I encourage you to go try it and then go watch a million other YouTubers and see what they do and then build what you like and what you love, because at the end of the day, this is your dream physique. Your dream physique is something that you should be able to enjoy achieving. And then the last thing with science is going to be number 3, everything else. When it comes to everything else, those are going to be things like sleep, water, rest, and recovery. If there's an issue with sleep, so you're not getting enough sleep, you're not drinking enough water, you're not resting and recovering properly, those are going to affect your performance in weight training, and it's also going to affect your adherence to nutrition. For example, if you're not sleeping enough, obviously you're not going to be able to lift enough. I don't care what you say, you are not going to be able to push enough. There's been studies showing that when people sleep less, they cannot perform well in the gym. I can't directly cite what study it was, but again, you don't need a study to know that. That's fucking obvious. Also, not getting enough sleep is directly correlated to an increase in the body's hunger hormone ghrelin, making you hungrier for literally no reason. You do not need the excess energy, and it's also going to be harder for you to control yourself because you didn't get enough sleep. And when you don't get enough sleep, you tend to make not as good decisions. So sleep, water, rest, and recovery, all this stuff, 1, 2, 3 right here falls under science. Now we're going to go ahead and get into the M. When it comes to the M, the whole thing, the one thing that you need to look at is yourself, okay? So you. A lot of the times when I talk to you guys on the phone, you tell me the goals that you have, exactly what you want, usually your dream physique, body recomposition, whatever. And then you also are able to tell me exactly how you need to get there. Because the first question I ask is, okay, what's your goal? Where do you want to be? Tell me what it looks like in a year from now, what your body looks like, what your life looks like. What are you doing? Tell me. I'd love to know. Okay. And you guys list that for me. And I'm like, okay, cool. Got you. All right. And then we talk about what you're doing currently. And then I'm like, okay, you listed the dream outcome in a year. And you told me what that was. In your own words, what would you need to do every single day starting today to get there? And I've yet to come across one person who hasn't had an answer. And so they list it out for me. They say, okay, well, I'd probably need to do these things every single day. And I'm like, okay, look, you just told me the dream outcome in 1 year. You also told me in your own words exactly how you would need to get there. And then we kind of just look at each other for a little bit. And I'm like, all right. So that's indicating to me that there's an issue with the M. What does the M mean? You. Again, hate to be harsh, matter of fact, whatever, but these videos are directed at younger me and what younger me needed to hear. So I'm going to give it to her straight, and I'm going to do the same for you because it all comes from love, okay? When we look at you, we got to figure out what it is right now that is giving you the current results that you're in. Who you are right now, take a second to think about this. Who you are right now is giving you the results of being in the physique that you don't like or having the physique that you don't like, okay? So what is it about you right now that is making you have the reality that you're having, that you're clearly watching this video to try to change, right? Okay, so it could be literally anything. Figure out what that is about yourself. Look at yourself, and then parentheses will put bad habits. Okay, because you have habits that may be unbeknownst to you that are keeping you stuck where you are. I'll give you an example of these bad habits. Choosing the comfortable option. Not doing the hard things. You know what you want, you also know how to get there, you just don't do it. You don't do it because you want to be comfortable, because you have no willpower, you have no consistency, you have no discipline, whatever that is. So after we look at you and you look at all your bad habits, you need to understand a few key principles in order to keep yourself going on this journey. I'm not even going to write this down. I'm just going to give it to you guys straight from the dome right now, out of my mouth. The first thing is it's going to be hard, but I preach on this channel to do hard shit. Do hard things. It's okay to be hard. What is there a problem with, right? So what if it's hard? So what if you're struggling? So what if it's uncomfortable? So what if you fail? So what if you feel insecure? So what if you're frustrated? So what if you feel these things? And I hope after you hear what I'm about to say, you're going to come to the realization that I did when I understood this. You are going to feel a million things. When we're making decisions to avoid feeling certain things or based off of those feelings, we're not going to progress. We're not going to be able to apply the science necessary in order to recomposition our bodies. Comment down below if you resonate with this, but we make decisions because we're trying to avoid pain. We're trying to avoid a situation that is going to hurt. And when we lack the courage to be uncomfortable, we are doing that at the expense of our personal growth and getting us closer to our goals. And I can give you multiple examples of this. Let's say you're in a relationship, okay, and you don't want to break up with this person because it's going to hurt, and you're going to be sad, and you're comfortable. You don't want to break up, but you know you're not happy. You know it's probably the person that you don't want to marry. They probably don't support you in your goals, and maybe they're a loser. I don't know. Whatever the reason may be that you don't want to be with them, or maybe you're just unhappy, but you don't have the courage to leave because it's going to hurt or because it's going to be uncomfortable. And you can kind of get the concept here as to how if you weren't scared of being uncomfortable or of feeling pain, that you would be able to succeed, right? Because you would be able to end the relationship and then you'd be able to move forward and you wouldn't have that weighing you down. You could actually go be with a person who supports you. You could actually go feel much more fulfilled in a relationship where you genuinely love the person, or it's the person that you do feel like you're going to marry. Another example would be taking literally any opportunity. If you're scared to fail, you're going to be reluctant to take some opportunities that could yield you exponential growth simply because you were scared of feeling uncomfortable or what would happen if you failed. The number one lesson that I learned that yielded me the most progress was being okay with being uncomfortable, having the courage to be uncomfortable. It's something that I include at the beginning of every single video because it is so important. A lot of the times we make decisions or we experience or incur extra stress because we're worried about feeling a certain emotion. So fucking what? You're scared. So what? You're sad. So what? Cry. You go through a breakup and you fucking feel like shit. Cry. It's okay. It's okay to be hurt. But when we make decisions running from that hurt, running from that pain, running from those feelings of being uncomfortable, we are doing that at the expense of our growth, our personal growth, and bringing us one step closer to our goals. Because our brains don't give a shit if we're successful. Our brains care if we're safe and if we feel happy and if we feel comfortable. Understanding that and being able to separate yourself from chasing comfort to chasing difficult things, or at least having the courage to be uncomfortable, will bring you further in life. And it will teach you that you can actually do hard things. You can go through hard emotions. You can also go through hard times. You can also do hard things that you probably never thought that you could. The only way to teach yourself and show yourself how to do that, i.e. bring yourself from point A to point B using the science of things, is to just do it. You're not going to be the most consistent, the most disciplined, or any of that shit when you first start, but the only way to increase those principles is to force yourself to do it, force yourself to be uncomfortable. There are going to be times when you feel things that aren't necessarily pleasant, and that is okay. Because you can't enjoy the good things and you can't enjoy when stuff feels really fucking awesome. You never suffer, if you never experience pain, heartbreak, sadness, stress, anything like that. And that is every single thing that I have for you guys today. If you want to work with me one-to-one to build your dream physique, I will leave the application to that in the description of this video. If you want me to be your coach, if you want me to help you get there and guide you through it week by week so that you can make sure that your weeks count and I can keep track of all your data so that we're always operating efficiently, go ahead and apply it down below. If you're a good fit and I do have spots available, I will personally be reaching out to you and let you know that I would love to work with you. If you need help building your dream physique or are going to attempt to do this on your own and you're going to begin your fitness journey, I think you definitely should, so it shouldn't be an if. When you begin your fitness journey, go ahead and subscribe to my channel here because I have plenty of other videos that will help you navigate either motivation or the science behind manipulating your nutrition, your weight training, all that stuff in order to manipulate your composition. I know that I can be harsh, I can be matter of fact, I can give it to you straight, and I do it out of love because I want you guys to start, I want to see you succeed, and I want to see you progress. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.